Well, welcome. Thank you for being with us, Harris. It has
Hello.
been a while. So go ahead and really quickly introduce yourself, if you'd like.
Sure. My name is Harris Kenny. I work for Aleph Objects Incorporated, which makes the Lulzbot, Lulzbot, the Lulzbot 3D printers, and open source hardware company, and yeah.
Excellent. So you used to actually work for Reason Foundation, which is I guess, a liberty-oriented free market organization that promotes different policies, free market policies, as a policy analyst, and now you are working for a 3D printing company. Tell us a little bit about that change. Why did you make it? How do you feel about it? How does it feel different now?
Sure. Well, it was a great opportunity. So I worked with Reason for about 3.5 years, and worked with a lot of great people. Really enjoyed my time there. It was a great sort of professional development experience, and enjoyed going to a lot of good events. And it was definitely a great opportunity. And definitely keep in touch with a lot of the folks that I worked with there and friends that I made through there. I was working mostly on state and local government policy issues, so the primarily government reform, transportation policy. Actually, I was working a little bit on the marijuana legalization, so I did some work here in Colorado on Amendment 64 implementation, and in Washington State on the Initiative 502. So I was involved in a lot of neat projects, and it was a great opportunity, but I wanted to see what it felt like to, advocate for human freedom, human liberty, from a market perspective, being in the market. And I was actually with a consulting firm for about a year, and then just in 2014 in January I started with this company, which is an open source hardware company, which means that we don't use patents at all. We don't have any patents, and don't have any plans to have any patents. The whole company is built on the idea of user freedom. All of our software in our company is free software, open source software, so it doesn't run codes and things like that. So yeah, that's kind of the short version of it, and it's been a really exciting change.
That's great. I think a lot of people would probably question that no patent rule and wonder maybe what the purpose of it is. Maybe they think it's crazy for a business to do that. There's a lot of mixture, I think, in the question of IP within the libertarian conservative crowd, if you will. So maybe just elaborate briefly as to why your company, I think it's great, but why you guys choose not to use patents and choose to be open source.
Definitely. Well, philosophically, I agree. I already agreed with the idea of open development, the fact that you can't own ideas. But fortunately, it's not just a philosophical organization. It's not a think tank. It's not a club. We are a for-profit company, and we've grown a lot over the last 3 years. And so I'll just sort of say, we can demonstrate by example as a company why it's good business for us. So we went from starting in our founder's house. Actually, he has built and sold a couple companies before this successfully. So he's a successful entrepreneur. We started in his house. Now, 3 years later, we have 25 employees. We've sold to customers in 65 countries around the world. We have 4 distribution centers that we ship out of. We've sold a lot of printers. We iterate really fast. We don't have to spend money on patent lawyers. We don't worry about what our competitors, trying to find things that we can lock our competitors out from doing. Instead, our R&D team is really forward-looking, always just focused on the next thing. We're not spending time or energy trying to protect an idea we came up with, 6 months or even 3 years ago. So it keeps us really lean, really hungry. And the free market, it's all about trade, cooperation, commerce. We can really cooperate and collaborate with a really exciting community of developers, people that are coming up with new parts, including our own customers. I've designed some great improvements to our printers that we include now. People that make new materials that you can print with, that want to work with us because our machine is so easy and developer-friendly because it's open source. It's not a black box, and we're not giving them a bunch of rules they need to follow in order to work with us. So it's it's really exciting. It really makes our company a lot better. It's not just something that feels good to think. I mean, we've definitely attracted investors. We've attracted some really high caliber people that have decades of experience in hardware. So it's been really fun. Yeah.
It has results, real results. It's clear. So that's
absolutely.
Great. It seems to be more the wave of the future. I bet within a few years it'll be difficult not to go that way. Personally, I think things like Amazon one-click purchase being patented, or other people can't do that same thing. It just seems so silly to me. Anyway, so that's great. I'd love to know more about 3D printing in general. Tell us a little bit about what exactly it is, what it does, and how close are we to the average person maybe owning one or being close to owning one?
Well, I think we're very close. I'll answer your question in reverse. We're very close to the average person being comfortable and being able to really use a 3D printer. So the technology is actually about 30 years old, and it was actually locked up in patents for a long time. And the only reason that this development and has happened and the prices have dropped so much, one article I read the other day said that the type of technology we use has dropped by 98%. Costs have dropped by 98% since the patents expired.
That's a point really quick that you just have to point out. A lot of the intellectuals say that you need patents to protect creativity and innovation, otherwise it won't happen. Clearly that's not the case, and this is showing just that. So thanks for pointing that out. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's fine. You jump in anytime. So it's been around for 30 years, but it was really siloed away in the hands of very wealthy companies that could afford to pay those high premiums, in the hands of very well-funded research labs, things like that. And now everyone's getting their hands on it. And so it's very, in a sense, a very populist message of this technology is now in the hands of the masses, and it's blossoming. It's really flowering and growing. And so the way our technology works, basically, you have a software file that's a rendering of an item, and a CAD drawing, and then you have to turn that from a CAD drawing into a language that the printer understands. It's called G-code. For our machines, typically, it's called G-code, and basically, it's the same type of language that CNC machines use when they're cutting out of wood blocks or metal or things like that. So you go from a drawing to a language with coordinates, so the printer knows what sort of direction, how tall it is, how wide it is, how fast to print, things like that. Then that file goes through into the actual machine itself, and the way our machines work is they have a printable material, sort of like ink, but it's a hard plastic, typically some form of plastic that gets melted, and basically functions like a hot glue gun. And so it stacks layers on top of each other. So it draws the item like a hot glue gun would melt glue. It melts the filament material and basically completes the drawing. It's a lot easier to show a video than it is to explain it in person. But basically, the core technology melts a material. It melts a rendering of a drawing. And the market's really focused right now on ease of use. So there's a lot of different sort of niches and little technical challenges I could talk about, but they're not too interesting to the layperson. But what I'll say is it's close. We're definitely getting there. We're very focused on that as a company, and a lot of companies are working on that. So I think we're getting there for sure.
That's awesome. I'm so happy to hear that. I think that's another cool thing, not only about the open source, but people that have money usually are the ones that start this kind of stuff because they have the ability to, and I'm not sure if that's the case, but I'm guessing that the first 3D printer was probably paid for by a really rich person that wanted a 3D printer. I'm guessing, or at least that's where it started, and I think that's great. People want to make a bunch of money and then innovate those things so they can eventually get down to the hands of the rest of us. Also thanks to people like you who are working in that field. And I think it's great, personally, that you've left. And I think working at Reason was awesome, like you said, but I think it's cool that you're actively doing something that I believe is advancing liberty in a very real way. What I'm wondering about 3D printing is, what are the, right now, I mean, I honestly don't even know, what are the limitations, what are the kind of main things that you can make with a 3D printer or replicate?
Sure. Well, the consumer, prosumer level machines are anywhere from, kits that are a couple $100 to fully assembled machines that can be, $7,000, $8,000, $10,000. They typically, historically, have printed with common plastics. So ABS is the most common one. It's the same type of plastic that Legos are made out of, just to give you kind of an idea.
Okay.
And so because of that, most of the things people are printing are plastic toys or prototypes of, prototypes of parts and things like that. The
Got it.
reason that the next couple of years are really exciting is because there's so much development happening in the materials space that you're seeing a lot more than just sort of normal plastics. There's wood composite materials, there are mineral stone composite materials, there's rubber-like materials, and so as you basically are able to convert more materials into spools that can be run through these machines, you're going to really open up the door to be able to make more things, functional things like hinges, things that have really high tensile strength, things that have a lot of different applications, translucent things that can be used as like lighting harnesses so that light can feed through them. So I think that's what's going to make this really more, between ease of use, lower price point, and then more materials, is what's going to make it more consumer friendly and more relevant, besides just printing toy elephants and toy octopuses and things like that.
Do you ever see there being a point where 3D printers are going to print things like tables and chairs and books and stuff like that? Or, I mean, I don't know the scope of what it can really do.
Yeah, well, it depends on how big the machine is. I think that what we're seeing the most of for consumer, prosumer home devices is that for people that have printers at home, they're really personalizing their world, their lives, the material things in their home that are around them. So they can change the color on the knobs on their stove. They can print custom-sized key racks. They can print costumes designed just for their kids, a mask that just fits their 3-year-old's face and is really comfortable. It's not like some uncomfortable, horrible plastic mask. He's like stuck breathing behind this tiny little hole. So I think that's what we're seeing with like consumer and prosumer, is people tailoring the world around them to reflect what they like, what they're interested in, what they care about. And so I think we'll probably see more. I mean, traditional manufacturing is going to make, I think, tables and chairs, cars, probably going to keep seeing those being made by traditional manufacturers. But those manufacturers...
Talk about lowering prices, though.
Yeah. Oh, it's definitely going to lower prices for sure. I mean, those manufacturers are using 3D printing for their prototyping. So it's going to happen more, up the supply chain, for sure.
That is so cool to hear. And I really do think that there is more of a user demand out there right now for everything from Netflix to the Uber cab to just being able to get things quickly in the way that you want them when you want them. And I think that this is exactly that. You want something specific. You can't find it at a certain store. Why not just make it? And not everyone's so crafty, so this will make it a lot easier for them. So I really do see that as being consumer demand is very high, especially when the price goes down. So really, really cool stuff. Do you see innovations like 3D printing to be passed towards a freer society, and if so, in what way?
Well, I guess yes and no, right? So technology can be used in lots of ways. So we're an open source hardware company, which, just to kind of give you an idea what does that mean, people are familiar with open source software, but in hardware it means a little more, because if you're making a physical item, if you understand the source code, if you're being given the source files for it, that means that you're being given not only the bill of materials, so what it's made of, right? So which suppliers made which parts, how much you paid for it, what the part number is called, so you could replicate the machine. But also you're being given by the company or individual that made it the freedom to copy the machine, to make your own modifications, to upgrade it, to even sell it. So our licenses are Creative Commons license that have no commercial restrictions. So you could start tomorrow Liberty on the Rocks bots, and you could sell our 3D printer. You could take our full bill of materials off our website. We license it this way because we think we're better at building them than anyone else. If someone wants to try, they can, but the machine that we have currently available to the public is, based on what we're doing in R&D, 6 months to a year behind what we're really working on right now. So to answer your question about a path to freedom, I think giving people tools that they actually have a total understanding of how it works, where they're not limited or restricted by their rights or their freedom to use the machine, I think that's what's really exciting. I think on a simpler level, technology generally opens doors. But I think giving it to customers in an unfettered, unchained way, for us, it's worked out really well so far.
Yeah, good. I do agree, and I think that it can be helpful for a lot of different reasons, not only just individual freedom. They are more free, being able to do more things, but it could help in the sense that it might make the government more obsolete over time. Things that people used to need for the government to provide for whatever reason, no longer, they're not going to need that anymore. Eventually, when we have more innovation, more things like Bitcoin, which I think is another amazing innovation. What do you think about Bitcoin? Quick question off topic.
No, definitely. So I mean, Bitcoin's exciting, right? So it's an open source currency. We believe in open, transparency across the board, and so I think it's really exciting. Right now, customers can buy our machines. We have a reseller called Adafruit Industries. They're an electronics store that does accept Bitcoin. They have BitPay up and running, so you can get one of our machines through Adafruit. So I think that's really exciting, and I mean, I'm all personally about the sort of proliferation of ideas, experimentation, trying to find new ways to do things, and I think that's what's happening. So speak for myself here, not speaking formally for the company, but yeah, I think there's a lot of good things coming out in the market, and I think consumers are better off, and I think that a lot of these things are starting to compound on top of each other. So you're seeing better software, cryptographic technology like Bitcoin, better hardware products. So I think it's a very exciting time to be alive.
I totally agree with you. I think there's some major changes taking place right now, and it is very exciting. Do you, one quick question, can you think of any other sort of entrepreneurial for-profit entities like 3D printing, like Bitcoin, that you see as paths toward a more free society, or that are even just advancing people's liberty, individual freedom in their everyday lives today?
Well, this may surprise you, but as a company that ships a physical item, one of the most challenging things of us making our customers happy, getting them what they want, is logistics. It's an age-old problem of how do you move things from A to B, but what I can tell you is that it's very challenging. And we've got some great people on our team spending a lot of time and money and that have a lot of experience working on it, and we're always trying to get better. But it's definitely a hurdle, and so even though it's kind of one of the most basic human commercial problems, right, of like how do you trade items, either money for goods or goods for goods or whatever, I think that's like a very basic fundamental one. So I don't know that it has to be a lofty technology. I mean, I think any entrepreneur that can help people make voluntary transactions better is going to be able to make the world better for people. And obviously I believe in high technology, but there's simple problems that are still being solved too.
And are you talking both in the realm of payment and actually physically shipping it different places?
Yeah, both. I mean, payment and physically shipping. I mean, the idea, Amazon's a very innovative company, and we work with Amazon. Our products are available through Amazon, but we still, have choreography, sort of partnering with them issues because they have these big warehouses, and you always want to be more efficient and getting goods to market faster, more safely, lower cost. I mean,
Right.
there's a lot of people trying to solve that problem, and
Right.
it's a tricky one.
It is true, and I remember actually seeing something on the news recently that was talking about Amazon having these flying objects that were literally going to be helicopters that were going to know where to go. They're going to drop off your item up to probably 50 or 20 pounds, whatever, but they would be able to drop it off more efficiently, and they can even deliver groceries using something like that within a day that you can order online. So I do think you're right. People are working on that, but
yeah, so that's that Amazon drone shipping program. But one thing that they're doing, so yeah, they had done some press. I'm not sure. I don't think that's live. But yeah, they had talked about it. But one thing Amazon's doing that's really cool is so let's say you buy a 3D printer. It's pretty safe to assume they've got algorithms in place. Pretty safe to assume you're going to need the material to print with, that filament material to print with. So what they're starting to do is they're starting to, or maybe they've done this for a long time and it's just being reported. But they're sort of predicting future consumption. They're predicting future wants from customers, and then stocking in advance, putting those items closer to your home, right? So if I just had a baby, I bought a crib. Amazon's guessing that I may want to buy diapers too, so maybe they're gonna alter their inventory to increase more diapers, more bottles, whatever, and their distribution center that's near my house, right? And so it's pretty exciting to the way that companies are figuring out like how can we serve customers better, get them things faster. So anyway.
Very cool. No, that's great. It's great to hear. It's always exciting to hear about what's happening with innovation, with technology from the people that are actually doing it. I mean, I heard a TED Talk recently with a woman, a doctor, saying they were close to being able to, I think it was genetically modify limbs or regrow limbs or something, and they were about to do their first test case on an amputee. And so just a lot of really cool innovations with 3D printing, with Bitcoin, with all that. So my final question for you is regarding an event that we're doing, Liberty Lab. I think I started talking to you about it before we began our discussion, but I don't think I totally explained. So we are promoting liberty and entrepreneurship, promoting liberty in the market rather than the political route for those who are interested in that. And we are going to be pairing individuals who want to come together as teams, individuals who already have teams, even people that just want to learn. You don't have to launch a project. But it's going to take place the kickoff weekend, first weekend in May. We're going to have keynote speakers. We're going to have mentors and coaches there, entrepreneurs. We're going to have facilitators from the Charles Cook Institute. We're going to be basically promoting or talking about how to structure your startup or how to structure a project in order for it to be successful. And then whether it's just a regular project, like a nonprofit project, a video project, or an actual startup, like maybe a Bitcoin Better Business Bureau or something like that, or something that you mentioned about logistics. They're going to then pitch to an entrepreneur panel of self-made entrepreneurs. There's 7 of them. These are people who are CEOs now, who are, as I mentioned, they run their own businesses. And they are going to basically hear the pitches from each individual or team on the business or project they want to start, and then they're going to provide feedback. They like the idea, they don't like the idea, information on making a profit model with that idea, however they're thinking of advancing liberty. And then the next day is going to be just basically a work day where they're in their project teams, they're working on their plan of action, and the mentors and the coaches are kind of coming around and working with them one-on-one. And then from there, we're going to have a 6-week launch where they're going to actually launch their projects. We've got $500 for 10 teams just to help them over the 6-week period in their spare time to try and get something that they want to do off the ground. And then with the help of the mentors, of course, they'll be teamed up with somebody. And then after that, we're going to come back in mid-June to pitch to a Shark Tank panel, I'm calling it, because we have 5 venture capitalists who are liberty-oriented, who want to hear these ideas and may or may not want to invest funds, but they will definitely give advice and any support that they're able to give along the way. So that's essentially what we're doing. It's totally free, and it's something that I hope we can continue in the future because I really think it's important for people to go out and actually be active in the face of liberty, and I want to give them a soft way of doing it, an easy way of doing it with other people that are similar-minded. So with that being said, Harris, do you think this is a good idea? Basically, what kind of advice would you give people if they were thinking about coming and thinking about launching some sort of a startup for liberty? Would you encourage them to do something like that?
Well, I do think it's a good idea. But only the market will tell, right? Hopefully people show up. I'm sure they will. I think you've done a lot of successful projects before, getting people together before, so I think you've earned some credibility in the market in that way. So I think you'll be successful here as well. I mean, my biggest thing is, my biggest thought would be just to make sure it's a good business idea. So if you want it to be a for-profit, it has to stand on its own. Our experiences, we're starting with 3D printers because a lot of these patents are expiring, and so if you want to have an open hardware company, now's a really good time to be. 3D printing is a really good space to be. We've talked about as a company, hey, if for whatever reason the market changes dramatically, we would make something else in order to stay in business. We would consider making office phones, laptops, drones, whatever, as long as it's open hardware. But the idea is, like, from a business perspective, it has to make sense because we've got payroll to meet, myself included. So I think that's just the big thing, is to focus on doing tests, doing a little experiment, seeing what there's demand for. And but I think it's great. I think it's really exciting, and I think if people have a passion for that and want to make people's lives better in that way, I think it'd be really good. I hope it's successful.
Just as you mentioned, the idea of kind of seeing what the market likes and just putting things out there. That really is my goal. Obviously, you remember being in the Liberty at Work program and doing the project that we did, and I know that you weren't as big of a fan, and it was probably a really boring project, and we should have picked something way cooler, honestly. I can think back now and wish that we would have, but I always thought that, gosh, this would be really cool to throw out to people, just regular people in the liberty movement, libertarian, conservative, anyone that wants to advance freedom, and just say, hey, do you have a project idea? We want to put you together with mentors. We want to help you out. We want to give you some advice. And we want to throw things at the wall and see what sticks. You know, if you have an idea for a libertarian dating site, launch it over 6 weeks. Let's see if it works. If you have an idea for this Bitcoin Better Business Bureau, and I have friends that could literally do that. They're that smart about the Bitcoin stuff. They knew Mt. Gox was going to go down in flames like 10 months before it happened. So if you're innovative and you really want to just try something and see if it's going to work, like Harris said, we definitely can't guarantee it's going to work because the market will tell. But this is an opportunity to do it. It's like a friend of mine said, it's like a very, very small scale seed accelerator. You know, you have places like Techstars. If you are, you know, going to be one of 12 people that gets in out of thousands who apply, in a lot of other places it's really difficult to get in. So if you want to try something out, I encourage you to come just for that reason. But with that being said, Harris, I just want to thank you so much for coming on and talking with us about everything. Is there anything else that I forgot to ask about, anything that you didn't get to mention?
Not in particular. Our company is hiring, so if you're interested in pursuing, you know, making people's lives better through business, and you maybe aren't ready to start your own, check us out. Check out our jobs tab on our website. But other than that, thanks for including me. Appreciate the opportunity. I'm really excited about this new project that you're working on. It seems pretty cool. So.
Thank you. Really quick, what is the website and the name of the business?
Oh, sure. So the company is Aleph Objects. And the website is alephobjects.com, and spelled ALEPHOBJECTS. So Aleph Objects, and then it's the Lulzbot 3D printer. So yeah, go to alephobjects.com. There should be a jobs tab in the top left corner, and check it out.
Excellent. Well, thanks again, Harris. We appreciate it, and I'm sure we'll see you around again sometime. But keep up the great work, advancing liberty in our lifetime. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Amanda. Have a great day.
You too.